You guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mal, my pronouns are they, them, and I'm the founder of Proud Movement. Before I say anything further, I would super appreciate if you could like and subscribe to this channel so I can keep making educational content like this video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the commonly tight upper traps that so many of us experience in our life. But instead of being the person to tell you that you have to suffer like this for the rest of your life, I'm going to tell you that there's probably a way out of this pain cycle. Now, tight and overactive traps can happen due to a number of reasons. Some very common ones would be, postural imbalances, weak stabilizer muscles, stress in your day-to-day life, creating lots of tension in that area of our body, and also poor movement patterns. Now, if we were to look at a diagram of the traps, we have the upper fibers, which is the common tight ones up by the neck here, but we also have middle fibers and lower fibers. Now, typically the upper fibers are the, overactive, very dominant fibers, where typically the middle and especially the lower fibers are often a lot weaker than those upper fibers, and this can cause a lot of issues. So what we're going to work on for the remainder of this video is one, we're going to chill out those upper trap fibers with a self-massage. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to activate and strengthen the lower trap fibers and get those working better so that they can pick up some slack and start doing their job to take some stress off of the upper fibers. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on strengthening a very important muscle around the rib cage that's just going to help overall improve your scapular mobility and movement patterns so that, again, we can get out of this pain cycle of these chronically overactive and tight upper traps. Now, in terms of how often should you be doing these exercises, I'm going to say start with 3 times a week and you can always progress from there, but having a rest in between each day is very important. If you're watching this video and you're pre or post top surgery, you should definitely do this, okay? Especially if you are pre-top surgery and wanting to prepare your body physically before surgery so that you can recover faster and get back to the activities you love pain-free as soon as you can. So let's go through this routine right now. In terms of equipment for these specific exercises, if you have 2 yoga blocks, that's going to be extremely helpful. And then you're also going to need a ball of some sort. So a tennis ball, lacrosse ball. I really like to use a tennis ball just because it has a little bit more give. A lacrosse ball is going to be quite hard and firm. It can really get into those really tight places, but it can be a little bit uncomfortable for some people. So my preference, tennis ball. You're going to sit up against a wall and you're going to take this tennis ball and you're going to place it on the upper fibers of the traps. So like all those tight, niggly bits up by the shoulder. And then we're just going to roll side to side over those fibers. And if moving over those fibers just side to side is too intense, then all you're going to do is place the ball, on somewhere on those fibers where it feels pretty tight. And you're just going to hang out over those spots. And you're just going to take some nice deep breaths. Until over time, you should start to feel that muscle starts to relax a little bit. Once you've done a couple of deep breaths in one area, then move that ball over. You can move it kind of up and down wherever you feel is tight and needs some extra love and tender care. So deep breaths over those spots. And again, if you want to do a little bit of movement over one area, you can, but just make sure you're taking some nice deep breaths. Make sure we do both sides for this specific movement. And in terms of like how long you should spend doing this, I would say you want to spend max like 5 minutes, okay? Not 5 minutes per side, like 5 minutes total, about 2.5 minutes per side. Just taking some nice deep breaths and getting these upper traps to just kind of chill out a bit, okay? So that's the first thing you want to do. And it is important that you do it in this specific order. So after that, you're then going to move over to these yoga blocks, okay? This next exercise, we're going to work on activating and strengthening the lower trap fibers, okay? So you're going to sit down with the blocks on either side of you. So you're going to look like this, okay? I do want to give you a bit of a side view just so you can really see what my shoulders are doing. So I'm going to take my hands, I'm going to place them on the kind of the outsides of the blocks here, okay? Not at the front, but on the sides, just so my whole arm is a bit more in what we call an externally rotated position, because we're thinking good posture when we do this exercise. We don't want to be kind of forward here. That's just going to kind of accentuate our already rounded shoulders posture, which, we're trying to get rid of that, okay? So let's place the hands on the outsides of the blocks here. We're going to sit nice and tall. Okay. And we're going to think of having a nice proud chest when we do this. Okay. Don't puff your chest out, but think of like gently kind of rolling the shoulders kind of down and back. Okay. And we're trying to keep those shoulder blades gently pulled down. Okay. Because the lower traps are in charge of depressing the shoulder blade down. Okay. So we got to work on that scapular depression, which we're actually going to push our body gently off of the ground as we keep our head stacked over the body. And then in terms of activation, we want to be feeling the activation through here, maybe a little bit through the lats. And yes, you are going to feel your arms as well because, typically it's really hard to just isolate one muscle. So if you're feeling it in other places, that's not necessarily a bad thing. But if you're feeling it in your upper traps, then something isn't quite right. Okay. So again, roll the shoulders down and back, sit nice and tall. The knees can be bent, whatever feels best for you. Nice proud chest. Head isn't forward. It should stay stacked over the body. And then you're just gently going to press your body away from the floor. And we want to hold that activation for about 5 seconds. And then you're just slowly going to come down and release. And then again, roll the shoulders down and back. Press the body away from the floor. Okay, your bum doesn't need to like come off the ground. It doesn't need to be that intense. But think about like you're still working with some effort. Okay, it shouldn't feel like the hardest thing in the world, but it should feel hard because you have to think about a lot of things when you do this. So we hold for about 5-10 seconds, slowly come back down. Take a little bit of a rest. And again, we'll do a couple more. Roll the shoulders down and back, press away. Good. And last important thing is when we press, gently press away from the floor, I want you to exhale. So round the shoulders down, or roll the shoulders down and back. On the exhale, we press away and we hold and we hold and we hold, and we feel some activation through here. And that's all a very good sign if we are feeling that. Now, in terms of how often we should be doing that and how many reps and how many sets, I want you to start with about 6 repetitions, holding for 5-10 seconds on every single one of those. And I want you to do 2 rounds of that. Okay. And you can do that back to back. Now, after you've done those, the last thing we're going to work on is a variation of what we call a scapular push-up. So we're going to do a variation from the floor. Just know that there's so many variations to this exercise. So if a kneeling position just doesn't feel good or accessible to you, know that you can do this kind of standing up against the wall and just pretending that the wall is your floor. Okay. So I'm going to set up here. I'm going to drop down to my forearms on the yoga blocks here. And then I'm just going to gently tuck my pelvis under me, okay? Just so that I'm in nice neutral alignment. Otherwise, like I don't want this to happen and my whole pelvis to dump forward and then me creating unnecessary curvature through that low back, okay? A little bit of curvature is fine because that's very natural in our posture, but we just don't want excessive curvature. So elbows under shoulders, okay? Palms can be however you feel comfortable. Okay, I do it kind of like thumbs up. Knees are under hips. My bum is slightly higher than my shoulders. That's all totally fine. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to gently exhale. I'm going to press my body away from the floor. So as I do this, I want to think about my shoulder blades slightly coming apart. So this is called scapular protraction. And it's when they're gliding along the rib cage away from each other. So we should feel that scapular protraction. And then we inhale, and we're just going to drop back down to our starting position. And then again, we exhale. Hold this scapular protraction. And then inhale down. Okay. And then again, keep the head stacked over the body. So we're trying to avoid excessively allowing our forward head to happen. So keep the head kind of stacked over the torso as we do this. So again, exhale, pressing the floor away, hold, and slowly come back down. One more time. Exhale, press away. In terms of like how hard you should be pressing away, let's not do max effort, okay? Because we're trying to get away from excessively using our upper traps throughout these movements. So I don't want you to ever do any of these movements with full max effort. Let's say like 6 out of 10 effort, maybe at max for this specific one. Okay. You might feel a little bit of upper traps for this specific exercise. I'm not overly concerned about that as long as you're feeling it in other places as well. Okay. This specific exercise is going to help strengthen a muscle called the serratus anterior. And this muscle wraps around the rib cage and is responsible for helping the the shoulder blades move a little bit better. So it's often very weak on people. So the more we can strengthen it, the better. In terms of how many repetitions should you do, let's start with about 8 reps of this specific exercise. And you're going to do about 2 rounds for that one as well. Okay, so follow that routine in that specific order and try to aim for about 3 times a week. And hopefully over time, you should find that this should help take some stress off of those upper traps and hopefully get some of those weak muscles to start picking up some slack and doing their thing. If you learned anything from today's video, I would so appreciate it if you could like and subscribe to this channel so I can keep making educational content like this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. I very much appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful day.